Are you struggling to stick to your super small budget? Are you finding that you're busting your budget every single month? Stick around because I have 5 tips to help you stick to a super tight budget. Hi there, my name is Kristin. Welcome back to my channel. I make videos on personal finance, frugal living, saving money, paying off debt. So if you are interested in any of the above, then you're in the right place. Today, I want to share with you just a couple tips on how to stick to a really tight budget, especially if you're trying to pay off debt and you're just getting started with budgeting. I know how it feels to look at your budget and have virtually no money left at the end of the month. And while we were going through our own debt-free journey, we were able to make a couple tweaks to our lifestyle, especially in the beginning, to really help us stick to our budget, even though it was super, super small. I know how you feel. I've been there, my friend, and you can do it. If you're able to stick to your tight budget in the beginning, eventually over time, it's probably going to get a little bit easier. Either you'll just get very good at adapting and cutting back all your expenses, or over time your budget will hopefully continue to grow. Let's get into these tips so that you can stop going over budget every single month. I've talked on this channel before about how important meal planning is and did a whole video, actually it was my first ever YouTube video, giving you 11 tips to save money when grocery shopping. So I'm gonna go ahead and link that up above, and that way you can check out that video and it'll really give you a good base to get started, because your food budget is one of the biggest parts of your budget. So when you're able to greatly cut back on the money you're spending on food, that's going to give you a great chunk of savings to get you started. Now, when we drastically cut our food budget, it was really hard to stick to at first, because we had these grocery shopping habits where we were going to the store and we were spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars each week just buying anything that looked good, anything we were hungry for. And we would get to the checkout and our bill was huge, and I would get this sinking feeling in my stomach, and I would be frustrated with myself that we spent so much money. So one of the ways that you can help yourself stick to your substantially lower food budget when shopping is by using a clicker. So I've purchased this clicker on Amazon. I will leave the link down below. It was only a couple bucks, and all you do is take it with you when you go grocery shopping. Of course, you want to already have made your grocery list and have your budget set, so you know the amount that you have to spend when you're in the store, and all you need to do is go ahead and click anytime you put something in your cart. The way we use the clicker is we round. So anything that is, say, $1 to $1.49, we will only click the clicker one time for $1. If anything is, say, $1.50 to $1.99, we will go ahead and click the clicker twice for $2. So you see what I'm saying, and you can come up with your own way of doing it, but since there's only round numbers on the clicker, that's what works for us. And anytime we use this, we always come within a couple of dollars of the actual total. So it does work pretty well even with rounding. So if you don't want to purchase a clicker, you can go ahead and just use the calculator app on your iPhone. That's how we started before we heard of these clickers. And I like using the calculator app, but you need to really have a free hand so that you're able to type all the numbers into the calculator. And the one thing I don't like about the calculator is we would often clear it by accident, and then you've lost everything. So unless you want to go back through the whole store and look at each price of everything you put in the cart, it just makes it a bit of a mess. So I love the clicker. You're not clearing it by accident. You can loop it over your finger and you're not going to drop it, and it works really well for us. There are also some tallying apps that you can use on your phone as well if you don't want to use a calculator and you don't want to carry a physical clicker. I personally haven't used those, but I know people that do, and they work the same way, so it's just a matter of personal preference. Using this will allow you to see what you're spending as you're shopping. It's also going to let you put things back when you see you're going over budget and really help you stick to the budget that you have set for yourself each week. The next tip is to meal prep. So this also kind of goes along with this food budget. And again, the reason I focus on the food budget so much is because it's one of the places that everybody spends the most money. And when you're spending a lot of money, that means there's also a lot of opportunity to save in that area. So what you want to do is when you go to the store, you want to meal prep. I have a whole video showing you exactly how I meal prepped. It's very detailed. It takes you step by step, whether you want to meal prep for a week at a time or a month at a time. You can check that out up here. I'm going to leave the link, and that's going to take you through exactly how you can meal prep, then create your grocery list from the meals that you have prepped. So once you've done that and you've used the clicker to make sure you stay on budget at the store, then you're going to come home and you're going to actually take the time and prep your meals. Now, the reason you want to do this is because you want to have the food already prepared or half prepared, waiting for you in the refrigerator. What happens when you have a really long day at work, you're fighting traffic, you're getting home late from work, and everybody's starving, and you open the door, you look in the fridge, and you realize there's nothing to eat? What do? Usually you get takeout, or you pack everybody in the car and you go out to a restaurant. Now, if you have room in your budget to allow yourself for takeout a certain amount of times each month, or allow yourself to go out to dinner, then that's okay. But if you don't, and if you have a very tight budget, you likely don't have room for those items at this time. So meal prepping is going to ensure that when you're in this type of a situation, you're not going to open up the fridge and see nothing there. You're going to open up the fridge and see a whole bunch of meals that you have already prepped or already begun to prep, and you can simply take them out, heat them up, and now you have a good home-cooked meal for your family, and you didn't break your budget at all. The next tip also goes along with the first two, and that is to batch cook. So when you're meal prepping, a common practice is to double your recipes, and then you can save one in the freezer. Same premise when you don't have something to eat, or maybe when you have a really extra low food budget some week, you can simply go down into your chest freezer or whatever kind of freezer you use and take out a meal that you have already completely prepped and frozen. When I do this, it's awesome. It's like a night off from cooking. All I have to do is I take it out of the freezer, I leave it on the counter maybe for an hour so it can start to defrost a little bit, and I just preheat the oven, put it in the oven and cook it, and again, we have a whole home-cooked hot meal for the whole family, and I did nothing. So this is another way to really keep yourself from spontaneously going out to eat or ordering takeout when you really don't have the money to do so. The next tip to help you stick to your really tiny budget is to budget in some entertainment or fun money into your budget. Now, I know you might be thinking, if I have a really tight budget, how would I have room for fun money? But here's the thing, find room. Figure out another area that you can cut, even if it's only 10 bucks a week, or maybe you can only afford 10 bucks a month, and that's okay. Start wherever you can start. Start wherever your situation will allow, but I promise you, even 10 bucks a month is going to give you an opportunity to do something fun, to have something to look forward to, because budgeting, and especially budgeting with a really tight budget, sometimes means a lot of sacrificing, and often means cutting out the extra money for fun things or extra things that aren't absolute necessities, because when you're on a really tight budget, you don't have room for any of those things. You have room for the essentials only. So budgeting in even $10 a month could allow you and your family to go out to ice cream one evening, or could allow you maybe to have an at-home movie night where you rent a movie from Redbox and grab a couple snacks from the dollar store. Or maybe it could allow you to go get donuts for breakfast one morning and surprise your kids. So even though $10 is a very small amount of money, and I know it's not going to go super far, again, if you're really stuck in this grind of budgeting and cutting and sacrificing, it will give you a little something to look forward to. And when you have something to look forward to, it's really going to help keep you from going off the budget and splurging and buying things that you really cannot afford because you're feeling so constricted. This next tip goes along with fun money as well, and that is to build in some personal money into your budget. Again, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. You start where you can afford. When my husband and I first started budgeting and we were really in the throes of paying off all of our debt, we barely had any extra money. I think we started with maybe $15 or $20 each of personal money each month. Maybe you can't even afford that much, and that's okay. Start where you can afford, and when you're able to increase it, you can slowly increase it over time. But for some people, maybe they had a habit where they went to Starbucks every single morning. Maybe that's one of the first things you had to cut from your budget because you sat down and realized how much money you were wasting on fancy coffees. Some people stop and get coffee each morning because they just don't feel like making it at home, or they're running short on time. But some people stop and get coffee each morning because they truly enjoy that coffee and get a lot of joy out of doing that for themselves each morning. So if that sounds like you, then even budgeting in $5 or $10 a month for yourself will allow you to treat yourself here and there and still get that joy. No, it won't be every day, but again, it will give you something to look forward to. It will motivate you to go ahead and make your coffee at home every morning and save that money all month, and then you get to splurge maybe once or twice a month on your fancy coffee, and trust me, you're going to enjoy it so much more. It's going to keep you from veering from your budget over and over again and ending up spending money that you really don't have to spend. The next tip is to batch your errands and appointments when possible. Now, I talked about this before in my video where I share 55 frugal living tips with you. I'm gonna link that up here, so if you're loving these little tips to save money, you can check that video out and get a whole bunch more. Now, especially if you're someone who lives far from your town and it takes you a while to get there, just doing a little pre-planning and batching your errands and your appointments can save you a ton of gas and a ton of money as well. So you're not spending the time to run back and forth to town multiple times each week, and you're not spending that extra gas either. Take a few minutes to make a list of everything you need to make. Make sure you sit down with your calendar in front of you and have a day that's completely clear. So if you're responsible for picking up your kids each morning and afternoon, see if your spouse or maybe a relative, or you can carpool with somebody else so you have the whole day free. What you can do is schedule all of your appointments in the same day, and it can sometimes be a pain to be able to really get all your providers on the same page and find openings on the same day. So make sure you're scheduling things early enough so that you have time to kind of keep pushing them out in your schedule if somebody doesn't have available appointments. But what you can do is, if you schedule the dentist in the morning and say your doctor in the late morning to early afternoon, and then maybe you have a hair appointment a little bit later that afternoon, now you're going to have these gaps of time to fill in between. So in the gaps of time between your appointments, you can go do your food shopping, you can swing by the bank, you can go to the post office, you can do any other tasks that need to be done while you're in the same area of town. Now you can go home, and maybe you don't have to go do that stuff either for another week or another month, depending on how you plan your errands out, but it saves so much time. And a bonus tip is, if you're able to do it while your kids are in school, or maybe your kids are in daycare, or you have a family member that can help you out with the kids, then you're putting everything together on one day. You only need to find a sitter or help for one day instead of help every time you have an appointment come up. And then also be sure, if you're someone that doesn't have much help and you do need to bring your children along, be sure to take some time and pack drinks, pack snacks for your children and for yourself. That way you're not stopping at the drive-thru if one of your appointments runs late and you or your kids are having a meltdown because you're hangry. But again, especially if you're far from town, I think you'll find this saves you a substantial amount of gas and can really help you reduce the amount of money that you're spending on fuel each month. The next tip is to swap services with somebody. So if you have something that you can offer somebody and one of your friends has something they can offer you, maybe you can cut hair. Even if you're not a licensed hairstylist, if you can cut hair and you can do a good job, maybe you can cut your friend's hair or cut your friend's kids' hair for free so they don't have to spend money on haircuts, and then maybe they can babysit your kids for you you while you have an appointment to go to, or while you have a date night with your spouse, or while you go take an extra shift at work so you don't have to pay a sitter and you're able to go earn extra money. This is not only going to help you, but it's going to help your friend as well. And swapping services is great because not only are you not paying for the service, but a lot of times if you're good friends with somebody, you don't have to shell out the extra money on the tip as well. And it can really save you a lot of extra money and time. Again, maybe if you're swapping services, you can go to one another's homes instead of having to go into town and spend that extra time or gas, and you don't have to find a sitter if they're cutting your hair in your home, whereas maybe you're not able to bring your children to the salon. So go ahead and see who's in your circle and what services they might have that you have a need for, and then sit down and brainstorm what can you offer them in return. And the last tip I have for you today is a tip to cut back on your clothing budget. Now, we obviously all know about looking at secondhand stores, and we all know there's a huge secondhand market. Not only are there stores like Goodwill or other thrift stores, secondhand stores in your area, there's a whole online market where you can get some really nice clothing, great brand names, things that are good quality. I find that sometimes when you order things online, secondhand, they seem to be a little bit better quality or maybe in better shape because there's such a big online market that if people are putting things up there that aren't in good condition, somebody's likely going to choose a different item instead of choosing their item. So I know personally, I will donate things to Goodwill that I wouldn't sell online, because the things I sell online, I kind of take our best brands, our best quality items, our items that were used the very least, and items that are basically in perfect condition. And if they're in less than perfect condition, then I'll go ahead and donate them to thrift stores or places like Goodwill, or we have one in our area called Opportunity Shop. So if you're looking for really good quality items but you still want to save some money, maybe check out places like Mercari or Poshmark. I'll go ahead and leave my closet names down below. You can check out what I have listed in my closet. You can also look at places like Facebook Marketplace, and not only just the normal Facebook Marketplace, but all of the yard sale groups in your own area. You can just go into Facebook and search for your area and you'll get a whole list of buying and selling groups in your local area. My next thought is to really reach out to people in your community, maybe people that you know from your children's school, and even if you don't know them well personally, if you are connected in a school Facebook group or through another friend, or maybe you just happen to see them at the local park or pool, maybe reach out to people who have children slightly older and or slightly younger than your own. And this way, maybe you can work out a deal. When your children outgrow their clothes, you can give it to them for their younger children, and maybe when their older children grow out of their clothing, they can pass them on to you for your children. And this way, you're able to swap clothes consistently year after year, season after season, saving you both a ton of money. So this is a great idea, because if you can do this with enough people, every season you'll be able to pull out a whole bin filled with a brand new wardrobe for your child, instead of having to go to the store and purchase clothes every season, because we know how quickly the kids grow out of their clothing. Plus, then you're also able to pass yours down to somebody else who really might be in need as well. Okay guys, those are my tips for sticking to a super tight budget. I hope you found some of them helpful. Let me know down below in the comments if you have any tips of your own that have really helped you stick to your budget even when things are really, really tight. If you like this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're struggling with budgeting, I'm going to go ahead and leave a link to my Etsy shop down in the description below, where I sell a couple of different budgeting products to really help you learn to love your life on a budget. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments and I will help you in any way I can. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you have a great day. Bye!